Hey there guys, and welcome back to All Action Sports. Alright, so we're here to talk about something that Arsenal Gunners fans probably are not going to be happy about, but it is what it is. We have to, talk about these things because you have to be honest with yourself sometimes, especially when you're chasing a title, right? You're chasing, a goal. And this is a topic that, first off, I will say this from a personal standpoint, right? Personally, what I will say is, Eberechi Eze is, maybe I'm biased. Maybe me personally, I'm biased because Eberechi Eze is someone that I've rated for too long now. Quick history, right? I don't know if anyone is old school enough to know of the platform Football Index. Yep, Football Index. Everybody for those that you guys that know, I'm not even gonna say anything other than what a shame. Yeah, so Football Index, when this was alive, right, and kicking, I was one of the people that okay, so for those that don't know, it's a football stock market, guys, the Football Index, right? And let me just cut this off so I can quickly make this order and I'll jump back on. Okay, so first off, the Football Index is a football stock market, and that's what you guys see. I talked to you about investing and so forth. So that was, mate, that was heaven for me. Football and the stock market, jeez. So I got involved in this, and unfortunately for me, hold on, let me just make sure I'm going the right way. Yes, unfortunately for me, it ended. The company went into administration, whatever, lost all the money. Anyway, long story short, in this football stock market, the three players that I was heavily invested in was Trent Alexander-Arnold, Jamie Vardy. This was years when he was at Leicester. This was after Leicester had won the league, basically. I think it was like a year after, whatever. So he was still hot property then, and Eberechi Eze. At the time, Eze was in QPR, but I noticed it from then. I was like, a top team are gonna sign this guy. I don't know who he is. I only found out later on, he was at Arsenal. He was in Arsenal's youth team at the time, but I only found out later on. But I was like, this dude is good. So I invested money in him, and he, eventually moved to Crystal Palace. But by the time we moved to Crystal Palace, guys, the platform had gone to absolute yes. So it is what it is. But anyway, I just want to give that context basically to make sure that people know that there may be bias and stuff I'm saying about Eberechi Eze, right? But the thing about it is, I'm looking at effectiveness. I'm looking at overall impact. And the thing about Eberechi Eze is more dynamic, right? And he's more flexible. In terms of where you can play him, right, than Odegaard. So in my head, it makes sense for us just to drop Odegaard. They have to drop Odegaard because first off, there was a point in time when it was almost like Odegaard and Saka were undroppable. Now with the smart signings being made, right, Saka being dropped isn't too bad now because they got Madueke, who's doing a good job. When Saka's missing, Madueke is actually very, very solid. That it's actually fine. It's like, okay, cool. Saka's missing. It's not great. We don't want him missing, but it's absolutely, it's Madueke can basically be so effective that both of them can play at the same time. Saka is on the right, and then Madueke on the left. That's how good Madueke has been, right? So it's almost like when Saka's missing, Arsenal feel, okay, you know what? We're in good hands. Right now, I don't know, listen, Arsenal fans, you guys have to decide this. Is there a massive gap between, the difference between Saka not playing and then Madueke stepping in and Eze not playing and Odegaard stepping in? Because does Odegaard start? That's the problem. Because personally, I believe Eze is benched this guy. Eze brings too much to in terms of, again, being effective. I'm not saying that there are things that Odegaard doesn't do better than Eze, and I'll name them actually. the things that I believe Odegaard does better than Eze, right? One of the things is he's great at his ball retention, right? At keeping the play, keeping the ball, possession-based play, you know, ensuring that Arsenal essentially break a team down by keeping possession, whatever, and then he's also making good at making that final pass. So creation in general, very good at that. I would say he's better than Eze at at these things basically, right? And they're very important. But the thing about Eze is, when it comes to Eze, right, I think however Arsenal want to play, Eze fits. So if Arsenal are attacking, right, attacking whatever, yeah, you want Eze and Odegaard probably even at the same time if possible, right, playing in the same team. When, let's say Arsenal are, I don't know, playing at Etihad and they play Man City, for example, right, and they're having to defend a 2-0 lead and the 78 minutes, bro, if Odegaard and Eze are there, who are you taking off? It's very, very obvious, right? So, because, Eze can also do that job of, he's got that physicality of defending, he's got that engine as well, and he could also tackle, and but at the same time, when they're attacking as well, he can go up top, and most importantly, score goals. That's one, again, effectiveness. So when you look at both playing and who has to be dropped, because Arsenal can't play both of them. Right now, Rice is undroppable. Zubimendi is showing that, yeah, you can't move that guy out of the team. Arsenal need that. Just like that character, right? They need that in the team. So there's only one more space for somebody. I just don't think, it's almost like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Odegaard is looking almost like luxury. He's almost looking like luxury. I don't want to, say Ozil type, because people will be like, whoa, but am I wrong? Again, this is a question for Gunners fans. Am I wrong in saying that? He's almost like an Ozil type right now. When you're trying to fit him in, right? The only person you can fit him in for is Eze. But you can't move Eze out right now. Because Eze is a goal-scoring midfielder, but also he's dynamic, he's unpredictable. Whereas personally, if we're being honest, Odegaard only really has one playing style. And that might be harsh, right? But Eze is more dynamic, and this is why the question has to be asked right now, guys: is it time to drop Arsenal? That's how important Odegaard is. That's what I was thinking myself. Odegaard is Arsenal really, because but we have to be honest with ourselves. Like, is it time to drop Odegaard? Is he now a player that he doesn't just get guaranteed a starting berth? That's the question for you guys, really. And I want to see what you guys think about that. Let us know. This is all Action Sports. Oh yeah, and the last one would be who will be a captain, but we'll talk about that in another video. Signing out.